everyone, this is Diane. This is our third week of our Spring Fling YouTube hop, and this week is altered notebooks. I enjoy making altered composition books, and what I do is I buy composition books like this, and then I sew on them and make a shaker out of the front cover. Usually if I have time, I will decorate the inside, but sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. It just depends. And I do decorate the back of them. These are just examples of two that I made. I am not going to make one because, you know, I'll be spending a lot of times on the sewing machine, but but I can kind of go through what I normally do. So on the composition book, I take it like this, and I'm going to move these aside. I take a piece of paper that I want to use. In this case, I'm going to use this paper here. And you kind of want it a little plain, not too busy. It doesn't really matter. Like this one is busy, but you can still see the shake, right? And you can add things in your shake. Like I added these cherries and Will You Be My Galentine and some hearts and stuff like that. So you can add whatever you want into the shake, but I find it's just easier if it's not too busy. On this particular one, I don't care if it's busy because I want the dachshunds. That's what I want. So I take the piece of paper and I lay it on the composition book, pretty much like this, and I overdo the binding right here just a tad like this, and then I turn it over. Oh, I have two sheets. Wow. Oh, nice. I was thinking I only had one. So I'm going to move that one aside. So we'll start over. Sorry. So again, we're just going to line it up just a little bit on the edge so it covers the black. We're going to turn it over. Oops, it moved on me. And the reason why we're going to hang on to it, we're turning it over because we want that, hold on to that, just that smidge over the binding. So, and then what I do is I try to line it up pretty much as I can, like that, just so the bottom here, you probably can't see it, the bottom here is even with the paper. Oops, I just moved it. That's okay. So we just want to line it up. The bottom end right here lines with the paper, right? But I'm going to turn it over again because of the binding. So I'm going to measure it up again. You know, as you can see, you can do it a few times like I did it. It's no big deal. Just, you know, you want to measure twice and cut once, right? So, you know, you just keep doing it until you get it exactly the way you want it. So I think this is pretty much it. Sometimes it's a little crooked on the seam of the composition book. So if you move it over just a hair over the seam right here, it's not going to matter. Then I'm going to take my handy dandy pencil and I'm just going to measure it like this. I'm going to go just a little around the circle. Like so. And then you have your paper. So this is what my paper will look like when I cut it out. And that's what I'm going to do now. So if you give me a moment. Okay, so I used a guillotine to cut mine so I have nice straight lines, right? But I did slice it just a little just so I have some over the binding, and it looks pretty good to me. I did cut just a little bit right there, but hopefully the circle will cover it. I don't know. Anyways, see how it's not quite not, you know, it's just the book. The book's just like that. So now what I do is I get a piece of acetate, and I do the same thing with the acetate. And you can do it with the paper, but I prefer doing it with the book. And you can just overshoot. Now this acetate is just for copying, but it's really nice and sturdy and strong. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to measure it down and make sure it is with the lines. On this one, I'm going to overcut just a bit. I'm going to make sure it's lined up with the binding. All right. So like I said, it doesn't really matter if this is really matchy-matchy, but I kind of like leaving a little bit of space, so I do that on the top. And then what I do is I just do a tick on the edges. And I use, you can use a Sharpie. This is, I don't know, Ready Sharp. It's the same thing. You can use a Sharpie so it marks on the paper. And then what I'll do is I'm going to go and cut this, and I'll be right back. Okay, now that I have the acetate cut, I will glue this on my book, which I won't do now because the process takes a while. But I do, because I just want to take the time and really make sure everything is done right. And when you're video camera, you know, doing it on video camera, you kind of want to hurry up. So what I do is I use glue. Now I use tacky glue. It doesn't dry as fast. This paper is pretty thin, so I don't use a whole lot, but I make sure that I glue on all the seams, and then inside the book, not all the seams. Scratch that. You want to glue within the seam. You don't want it going all the way here. You just want to glue right here, right? Just right here, so it holds the paper. You do not want to glue the edges at all, because you're going to be sewing. If you want to sew, this is for sewing. But if you don't want to sew, then you would glue all the way to the edges. But I don't know how you would do the acetate. So I guess this is for sewing only. Sorry. Sorry. So you don't glue the edges because your sewing machine is going to go through that, and you don't want the sewing machine to go through there. So you sew right here. That way it holds your paper in place. Now you can't hold the acetate paper in place. So what I do with the acetate paper is I use these little binding clips that I got at Dollar Tree. And of course this paper will be sewed. And see this right here? I put it all the way down to the edge. And I clip it. And you can use bulldog clips too, but this is just what I happen to have. And I just clip it around here. And I clip it on the bottom. And I go through, so you just want to make sure everything is nice and even. Okay, and then when you take your sewing machine and you start here, and you sew all the way around. I'll show you. So you would start right here, and you would sew all the way around all the edges until you get here. The reason why I say to leave some on the bottom is because your sewing machine will pull and wrinkle your acetate. See, like this has got some wrinkle in it. This didn't get any on it, but you know, it will kind of pull. And that way you can just go along with your scissors when you're done with your book and just cut that off. So once you get around these edges sewed, you are going to take your mix, whatever mix you made for your book. And this you can see I made like a Valentine mix, and you're going to dump it in here. So if this was sewn, you would just take it like this and just dump it in here, and you would make sure all your shaker mix is all the way down the bottom. And then you would go back to your sewing machine and you would just sew this line here, and that will seal in your shaker mix. And then on the back, whatever you want to do on the back, you want to do it on your back. I did both the backs of these. You would do the same thing. So you would take your paper and you would do your back. And this is where you would go to the edges. So you would glue this all the way to the edge, but not rounding off the corners yet. So you would glue all the way to the edge, and then you would take your bone folder or whatever you use to cement your paper, and I use this one. This is flat, and I just go all the way. I take all the glue all the way to the edges, just so all the edges are nice and sewn. Now sometimes if I feel real creative or I've got the time or whatever, I will sew acetate on the back, but not shaker mix, and that's just to protect the back. Now I personally have a stamp, so I would use a stamp, and I stamp the back pretty much like how I did. But you don't have to. You can use a sticker, a made by sticker. Either you make your own. I think Bethany makes them and sells them too if you don't make them, but that's what I do. And then you have a book. Now for the inside cover, you would do basically the same thing. You would take your sheet of paper, but you would not glue it all the way to this edge right here. So you would want to stop about right there, because the paper is going to crease as you fold the paper, right? So as you can see, this paper is definitely not long enough for this. So you would definitely have to measure that. And then if you do the back, you do the same thing. You don't go right up to the edge. If you want to decorate inside the paper, which I have done that before. If you fold papers down, I'm not going to fold it in here, but you can fold papers down or up like this, and you can make pockets, or you can fold them in half and make pockets, or you can fold them down here and glue the edges and make pockets, but you'd want to take pages out. So if you take pages out, because you don't want it too thick, right? I really don't take the time to really decorate them anymore inside. But when I first started doing this, I really did. I could spend a whole week making a book, but I don't have that time now. So now I just make it nice and simple like this. And I don't always just decorate the inside. Sometimes I will. I will decorate this inside right here and put a little pocket on here. But, it's just a book. So, that's basically what I do for these particular books. These are for swaps, and I did buy decorative pins to go with them. I think I ordered these off Temu, or if you really wanted to, you could do some really cute pins and beaded pins. I was just going to get some out and show you some really, really nice beaded pins here to match your book. But I didn't do that. I made a pokey tool for the book, so I just went with these pins because I just liked them. So anyways, and that is how you do a notebook. It's very easy, very easy. And if you have any questions, of course, you can always contact me, and I can help you along, with whatever you need. But anyways, I hope you enjoy this hop. Make sure you visit all the women that I have listed below. This is hosted by Tiffany, and as I've mentioned before, she does have a book out, and she has 3 books out. They're on Amazon. She's Crafting Like a Boss, and her books are just really great. So make sure you check that out. Anyways, if you have any questions, like I said, be sure to let me know. And thanks you guys for coming by, and may God bless your day. Bye.